Welcome, everyone. Looks like everyone is out of the waiting room now and here. So I'm Deanne Jones. I'm the project director for Strong Readers here in the state of Oklahoma. And this is our March Strong Readers call. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the nice weather. I know you guys are just itching for spring break. You've almost made it. So we will jump right into it today. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we'll jump right into the agenda. So this is our agenda for this month. We are starting with questions from last month. Last month, you had a couple questions that didn't quite know the answers to. We had to look into those and find some answers for you. And so the first question that we were asked was, can Strong Readers funds be used to pay paraprofessionals for summer school? So thinking through this, we had a couple different answers for this. Sorry, I'm going to be letting people in as we're going. We have a couple answers for this. First of all is our preferred answer. And our preferred answer would be that paraprofessionals should only be paid for with summer school money, Strong Readers funds for summer school, if it's for a student that requires a para per their IEP. So if it's a student that needs a one-on-one aid and that student's coming to summer school, yes, you could use Strong Readers funds to pay their para for the summer. That our preferred answer would be that that's the only case that you're using Strong Readers funds for a para in the summer. However, we understand the restrictions that you're on as far as funds and as far as being able to find certified staff who are willing to work at summer school in the summer. And so we have a second case scenario, a second answer for you. And our second answer for you is, in special circumstances, like where you're not able to find enough certified staff to serve the students with low numbers, low parent to student ratios, you can use a para. A para may be used to work in small groups under the direct supervision of a teacher. They should not be the primary instructor. So they should not be the one responsible for giving the explicit direct instruction. They could be used in small groups where you have a case where a teacher is giving the initial instruction and then they're breaking into smaller groups and having the para work on that skill that the certified teacher has already given the instruction on. And in this case, we really, we wouldn't want the teacher supervising more than one paraprofessional. This would look like I just said, where you have a teacher giving the initial instruction, and then maybe you're breaking into a smaller group, and that pair is taking some and the teacher's working with some. We don't want a case where it's a teacher and then the teacher has a bunch of pairs doing a bunch of different small groups, so that the teacher's not able to give direct instruction to all the students. We really want our most qualified people giving the direct instruction for our struggling readers. Okay. And those were our questions that we had from last month. So moving on, the funding checklist. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the year because this was a brand new thing for us. It was brand new that we were having. We updated the funding checklist basically this year to have some new areas on it. And we're basically asking for more accountability now. So this year we received an additional 4.5 million in Strong Readers funds versus the previous year. And with this increased funding, the expectation for accountability has also increased. So we'll go over the funding checklist in just a minute. But what this means for your school is that when the district sends their expenditure reports to the state between July 1st and September 1st of this year, any expenses that are marked Strong Readers, so if they're using project code 367 for Strong Readers, and they use some unapproved function or object codes, it will be rejected and sent back. So let's look at what these codes look like. This funding checklist is available on our website, and you can pull it up on our website and look at it, but let's look at it for a second. So first of all, 367 is our code for strong readers. This is the project code that you're using for anything using your strong readers allotment. And then this program code is brand new. The second one, the 439, this is our expenditures for science of reading professional development for your 10% requirement. Anything that you're using for that 10% requirement, if it's the registration for professional development, if it's any of the travel expenses or materials or stipends for your teachers who are going to these outside of contract hours, that should be coded with program code 439. Summer school related expenses should be coded with program code 441. Any other strong readers expenses will use program code 427. We added this program code 439 this year so that we will easily be able to pull a report and be able to see what you're spending your 10% requirement on, and that you are spending 10% of your allotment for the science of reading training for your teachers. I want to look a little bit deeper into this because we recently looked at some of last year's expenses, and there were a lot of expenses turned in with codes that were not on this list. So I want to go over this a little bit more clear because, like I said before, this year, if it is not one of our approved ones, your district's expenditure report will be rejected. So making sure that if you're someone who deals with strong readers, that you're aware of this, and also that your financial department is aware of it. I did send out recently to the administrators newsletter a statement about this and about how this will be, there'll be further accounting for this year. But if you could also communicate that with your district financial people. So the function code 1000 is everything that deals with instruction. So this would be things like your salaries for teachers or after school programs, summer school programs, all of those things come with this code. Other things under 1000 are your any instructional materials, intervention materials, copying, books, textbooks. We also have on here the screening assessments. So we do offer a MIRA, and if you use a MIRA, that is free to you, funded from the state. But if you choose not to use a MIRA, you are still free to pick your own approved screener, and you can use Strong Readers funds to pay for it. And it would be coded with 1000 as your function code, and here will be your object code and your sub-object code. We have a few more things under the 1000 code: more textbooks, workbooks, magazines, subscriptions. And the other thing I do want to talk about specifically under this area is the technology related expenses, equipment, devices. So if you are spending Strong Readers funds, if you wish to spend your Strong Readers funds on technology, that does have to have pre-approval from us. This is the form that you click into to request to spend those funds. And I want to just go ahead and look at that super quick. It is a really quick, just a Google form that you fill out. You have your email, what you're wishing to buy and how much it's going to cost. And then just one other question, and that is how you are using that equipment to implement the provisions of the Strong Readers Act. Because we want this money to be spent directly helping our struggling readers. So we don't want this to be things that would be rejected would be something like a smart board for the regular classroom. Those are good things. You need those, but that needs to be paid out of a separate fund. There are other funds that cover those things. This is supposed to be directly helping our struggling readers. So things that we have been approving for this are things like you need headphones because you've implemented a MIRA, and now you need headsets for your Chromebooks or your devices that your students are working on the MIRA platform are. We've been approving things like that. We've approved some Chromebooks, some tablets for use for doing your screener or for doing the MIRA platform. So you are welcome. If you are wanting to know if something will be approved, you can put this in. I usually get to these fairly quickly. I would say within a week or so. So if you, I'm sorry, I'm trying to admit people. So if you put in a request form for spinning technology and you don't hear from me, get an email from me within a week to 2 weeks, you need to email me and let me know, because I usually get to these pretty quickly. So if you don't hear back within a week to 2 weeks, send me a separate email letting me know that you've put one in. Okay, let's go back to the funding checklist. So we've looked through the funding code 1000. And now let's move on to 2213. So 2213 is all of our things that have to do with professional development. So this can be the stipends. It can also be benefits for these employees. You can have contracted services for someone that would be like for someone coming in from outside person coming in to provide professional development if they're just a contracted person. We can have travel when you're sending teachers to professional development. And then of course your registration for professional development. So on these things, you would use these codes, but you would also remember to use the separate program code so that we can keep track of your 10% requirement. These things are assessment. Now this one is not the screener for 2240. This would be your diagnostic or progress monitoring assessments would fall under these. And then if you need to pay for additional materials for those assessments, if you're buying extra booklets or printed versions of the test, you would use these codes. And then the last one we have is transportation. So this would be usually it can be for after school. If you have an after school tutoring program, usually what we see it used for is for summer school. If you're providing transportation for summer school, you can use this code to pay your bus drivers and to pay their benefits if that is applicable. Okay, so once again, I just wanted to go over that so that you can be aware and let your district be aware of that. We will be looking at that a little bit closer this year, and it may affect your report being accepted by the state if you're using unapproved function or object codes with strong readers. Okay, the next thing I want to go into is the school board policy. This is also a new thing. I also sent this out to administrators on the administrators newsletter this month. So districts should have adopted a school board policy to implement the provisions of the Strong Readers Act. This policy does have to be posted on your district's website by September 1st. We have other new website requirements that are going to be new by September 1st. And we are working on providing a unified format for that, where that you will put all of your required information on a format we provide to you. And in that format, there is going to be a spot where you can just copy and paste your school board policy for strong readers into our format, and that would be posted as well with your other information that would have to be by September 1st. We may talk about the school board policy a little bit more in depth next month, maybe talking about some of the specific things that would be good to have in your policy. I may try to pull up an example of one, and we may talk a little bit more in depth about that next month. Give me just a second, trying to get someone on here. Okay. I just welcomed Classy Nolan into our meeting, one of our heroes team. Classy, you want to say hi to everyone? She is going to help answer some of the stuff in the chat. Classy's on there. Hello. So if you guys are
my computer decided to do an update.
Oh no, bad timing.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So we do have a few questions in the chat. One being about Amira. Is it being provided? Is all of Amira being provided for free or just the testing component?
So that I don't have a super clear answer for that. This year we did have enough money in our budget that all of the schools that requested the learning platform, we were able to provide that for them. We know we have guaranteed that we can provide the screening, the testing assessment for everyone in the state. So anyone who's wanting the screener, we know we will be able to provide that for you next year. We can't say with certainty if we can provide the learning platform part of it for you, because that's going to depend on budget. We have, you know, a certain amount of money to spend. And if we have everyone decides to do the screener, then we probably will not have money to provide many people with the learning platform. If we don't have a large percent to request the screener, then we would be able to provide the learning platform for more people. So the short answer to that is we know you will be able to have the screener, but the learning platform is to be determined depending on budget and how many people apply for that.
Another question it's somewhat related to Amira. She's wanting an Amira center for teachers K-3. Can a center table be bought? And if so, what would the code for it be? So I guess this would that be part of supplies or furniture?
Are we
If
talking
it's a
about
table?
an actual like furniture, like table?
That's
I
Stacy,
don't think
can you clarify that?
I would just say, right, we do not approve furniture. So
Okay.
if that's what we're talking about, a table, that's a great idea, but that would probably need to be paid for with some other funds. Because that is not one of our approved expenditures. So
Code for Amplify, would that fall under the technology code?
Amplify is using Amplify as your screener. So we're talking about the screener that's provided through Amplify.
Mhm.
Yes, that would not be under, there was a separate code that I showed you, that I talked about, that was screening assessments. And let me just click on that. Approved screening assessments right here. It's code 1,600, 614 is the sub-object code. So that's in a screening assessment. And you can't do that. And there's the code for that one.
Another question, someone that came in a little late, I did too, I'm so sorry. But is there a budget in grants management that will need to be completed?
I do not know anything about that.
Okay.
So yeah. The
How in-
grant, if you're talking about like the CLSD grant, that's completely different from our Strong Readers funds.
Well, I think that may
So-
be part of, as far as the budget, that may be part of like the Title I funding, or if the funding that comes in for
Classy, did we lose you? So I don't know the answer to that. That's not part of Strong Readers. That would be part of something else. So. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So we're going on through March reminders. First reminder up would be, I know you guys are doing parent-teacher conferences. A lot of you this week. So just a reminder during those parent-teacher conferences, to review the data from your screening assessments, and if applicable, this would be a good time for you to get that second signature on the slip. That second signature is optional, so you are not required a second signature, but if you have those parents in and their students is on a slip, this would be a great time to just make sure that you're reviewing with them their students' progress and getting a signature if you have them there. And another reminder would be that the end of the year screenings must be done in April or May. So we have a lot of districts who like to go ahead and do a screening in March, and I understand that because you want to have current data when you're talking to parents about their students' progress. You want to have data that shows their most recent progress, and that's fine if you want to give your screening assessment in March so that you have that fresh data to talk to about the parents, but that cannot serve as your end of the year assessment. You will have to give the EOI screening in April or May for it to count as your end of the year screening assessment. Another reminder is there will not be OSTP criteria on the state test this year, since we have done away with the third grade retention portion of that. There is no need to have RSA criteria on the state test. So your reading test will just be like the other subjects. You will just have your basic scores like you get on the other ones. There will not be a separate component that says if they've met RSA criteria. That will not even be a thing this year. And another reminder along those lines is that your third grade retention this year will be according to your district policy. You will not be following any guidance from us on whether a third grader is to be retained or promoted. That will be up to your district to decide your policy for that, just like they do all of the other grades. Last thing I have to show you is some professional development opportunities. Amira is doing some statewide screening user forums. They're having one today in Muskogee. They are having one in Yukon tomorrow. They have a morning session and an afternoon session. And this is the registration link for that. Classy, I don't think I put in our link to the agenda into the chat. Can you do that for everyone quickly?
Yes.
So that they
Grab
can have
that.
these links that I've been addressing. So this does have the registration link. Tomorrow is the last one. There's a morning session, afternoon session. And then this is very exciting. We have something that our literacy team has put together for the summer that is called Pages Across the Plains. And we will be going to all different areas of the state and doing professional development that is free for schools, teachers, administrators, school board members, anyone that you think would benefit from learning about how to work with struggling readers. And so these will all be free of charge. We do not have registration open for these yet. You can keep looking out on our literacy professional development page. But I did want to just go ahead and put the dates out there for you so that it's kind of a save the date for you. And you can kind of see what area we're coming to. We don't necessarily have all of our venues and locations booked yet, but we do kind of know what areas that we're expecting to come to. So you can look at these and see what date we would be in an area close to you and just write that in your calendar as a save the date. So at this, we will have a lot of our heroes presenting sessions, as well as some people from in our office literacy staff, including myself and Melissa Algram. We will be presenting at some of these. And so make sure you take a look at these and take advantage of some of this free professional development. Our next meeting will be on April 8th at 1 p.m. And I'm going to stop sharing and we'll look at some more of your questions. What do we have, Classy?
So a few more questions. Going back up to some of those. Somehow I got booted out of the meeting. Like I do not know what's going on with my computer this afternoon. We've answered the Amira questions. How and when do you apply to use Amira?
So there is a link on our website. If you go to the Strong Readers page, or actually go to the Literacy Policy and Procedures page, and then there is a big yellow button that says, there's a page that actually says Amira. I think you can go to the State Department website and just type Amira in the search bar and it will bring up the Amira page. And there is a big yellow rectangle that you click. And if you click that, it will lead you to fill out the form where they will start processing you. And I think if you do that, then someone will be in touch with you to get your school set up.
I'm
And
going
you
to
can
go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you can go ahead and do that now, or you can wait until summer. But if you're wanting to use it for next year, you can go ahead and click that now so that they can start the process and that you could have your teachers get in there and start looking around and being familiar with it before they're trying to give the assessment next fall.
So that answers the question of when will we apply for Amira. Do they need to do anything in addition for the 25-26 school year?
I don't think so yet. I think, oh, well, I will have to check for sure on that. We'll double check with our Amira reps, but I'm assuming this means if someone's already in, they're already using it. I think they would already be in for next year, and it would just be a matter of re-enrolling and doing their new students like you would if you were paying for it on your own. But I'm pretty sure they will contact the schools that we already have in this year, making sure that they're in for next year as well.
Is there a timeline as far as knowing if they will get the learning component
I
in
can't,
addition to the testing?
yeah, I don't know that the answer to that yet. I think it depends on I don't know what the cutoff is for saying when a school opts in. And we would have to know that, to know how much money we have left to spend towards a platform. So I don't know the answer to that yet.
Okay. Changing from Amira and have a question about letters. So if zero staff have letters training or science of reading training, that we can use one of the approved PD to train the teacher that is wanting to teach summer school.
Okay, yes. So if you don't have anybody who is letters trained, the qualifications for teaching summer school with strong readers funds is that your teacher has to be trained in a it now said now the what it says is it has to be trained in science of reading with one of our approved PD, which letters is one of those, but there are lots of others. Or if you have a certified reading specialist, they don't have to have been through those additional training. So if you have someone who's not a certified reading specialist, but they have not done letters, they can do any of the things off of our list. So if you go to the State Department website and go to the page that is Literacy Professional Development, you can see our list. Some of those, like letters, are a lengthy training, but there are some on there that are not as lengthy. There are some through the Reading League that are only a few hours long. And so they could do one of those if you're trying to get, people certified in a shorter amount of time to teach summer school. There's also one on there that's through the State Department. We have one that is called Evidence-Based Practices, and it's through our OSDE Connect. That one, they could do that one. That's just a self-paced module. It probably takes around 13 to 14 hours to complete it, but it is something they could do on their own. So if they started it now, they could have that done by the time you're doing summer school. So you just have to look at that list of those. And they are expected to have completed one of those to be able to teach summer school.
Do you know where the STAR benchmark guidance is? Apparently there was a misprint on the end of the year benchmark for third grade. And so we have someone that's looking for the benchmark guidance.
So STAR has during this school year, I think like in September, STAR changed some of their guidance. The most current version is on our, let me just check and make sure that I'll double check. It should be on our website, but we had new website things
And
happen.
that's what
So
I was looking for it, but
let me double check. See.
there is a resource on there, but
So they changed, is it the one that just tells, STAR basically changed their recommendations now where we are only going off percentile ranking, where we don't have that chart anymore. We used to have the chart that was like, I think end of the year third grade was like a 369 or a 970 or 969 for end of the year third grade. And that was a scaled score. We've changed the way we're looking at that now with STAR particularly. They are going off of percentile rank only because they renorm like every 2 weeks or something now. So if you took it, the second week of December versus someone who took it January, the first week back in January, those scores weren't matching up. The percentile ranks weren't matching with the scaled score. So they are going strictly now off of the percentile rank. So I think what you're asking about the chart saying is really you don't need the chart now. You're going off 40th percentile rank. But I do want to pull up what we have on here and just make sure that it is
they do have on
correct.
the strong readers page, when you go down for those technical documents, The grade level screening for reading difficulties under the screening technical assistance, there is the Star Early Learning Suite. If you click on that on page, let's see, that's 3. On the last page where it says additional resources and support, they
Uh-huh.
have the unified benchmark and cut scores where it's linked and you can just click on that. Do you want me to just drop that in
I'm,
the,
I'm looking, but I want to see
I'll
what
drop
that,
it in the chat.
yeah, I'm there. I want to see what that is and make sure that it's the correct. Oh, yeah, we really don't want to use that. I actually need to have them kill that link
Okay.
because we don't want to be using the scaled score anymore because there was
Well,
just
on
so
there,
much of a difference. Yeah.
it just shows it as an additional resource, but it on there, it does say that the focus is the percentile.
Yeah. So if you go to earlier in that document, before you click on what you're talking about, Classy, um, if you look at their guidance, it's just strictly off percentile ranking. So it's giving you, 40th percentile and above would be on tier 1. So I see what you're saying. That can kind of give you an idea, but sometimes those aren't matching up. Like you might have a student who is on, let me just look at one, like say a 3rd grader who has a 921 at the beginning of the year, and it's saying that's 40th percentile, but if you take it the last week of September, which you're allowed to do, that might be the 38th percentile. So that just got really confusing, and that's why we kind of switched it to just going off the percentile rank. So that was kind of a long answer to that question, but that document, I guess, still is on there, but we're really wanting you to look at percentile rank because it lines up the best, and it's going to line up the best with what STAR's system is already doing for you. When you're printing reports and it's putting them in the colors, that should line up better that way than trying to use the scale score.
And you did say, as far as needing to reapply for Amira, that their Amira rep would be in touch with them. Is that correct?
That is what I believe. If that is wrong, I will clarify that next month at our meeting. I can talk to Amira specifically about that. So if that is incorrect information, I'll let you know next month.
And the template for the information needed to be posted by September 1. You said that you will be providing that information in
Yes,
next month's meeting. Okay.
we do. I have that developed right now. We're getting some district input on that, and hopefully we will definitely have that ready for you. Our goal for us to have that out to districts is May 1st. So we hope to have that solidified and out to districts by May 1st.
3rd grade does not need to have their OSTP reading completed by a certain date, correct?
That would be an
Previously,
assessment.
they would release those meets criteria, does not meet criteria for RSA.
Correct. So now it would be just like any other, this would be really more of an assessment question, but I'm assuming it would just be like any other OSTP test. It could be anywhere in the testing window instead of it having to be, yes, before you had to do early so that you could get those results. That will not be a thing now. LitCop would be, someone asked about if LitCop would be accepted as certification to teach summer school. Yes, that definitely would. If you have teachers who have completed LitCop with us, that would allow them to teach summer school. That'd be perfect. Someone asked about, did I say purchases using the 10% funds need to be approved? No, the only thing that has to be pre-approved, well, that depends on what you're asking about approved. It does have to be through one of our approved vendors on our website. But if you're talking about getting pre-approval through us, that was for the technology piece. If you were requesting to buy technology, you have to send in that request form to us. But as far as PD, for the 10%, it just has to be through one of our approved vendors that are posted on our website.
We purchased 10 license for 6 shifts as approved on the State Department list. So that's fine. If it's on the list, and it's approved.
Yes. If it's on our list, it's fine, it's approved. And you may notice when you're looking at our list, we actually, I had some people asking, on one of our sessions earlier about a reading league. We had several reading league courses posted on our site, but they were asking about some other ones that were not, and we have recently added them all. I think now all of the reading league foundational session courses are all added to our approved list. So there is a substantial list of reading league ones on our approved list. Now, one that a lot of people were asking about was the dyslexia one, because it was not on our Airtable anymore. It is on there again. So I think now all of the reading league courses are listed on our approved list.
We have a question about slips on 4th and 5th grade students.
Okay.
Next year, we will continue to not need to write new slips on 4th and 5th grade students. Only students on a slip not meeting benchmark by the end of 3rd grade will need an ongoing 4th and 5th slip. Is this correct?
That is correct. The only thing that's going to change about that is previously we were doing them for 3rd graders who did not pass the RSA criteria on the test or the screener. So it was basically students who were probationarily promoted. Well, we won't have any of that this year. So looking forward, it will be 3rd graders who were honest. If they were on a slip in 3rd grade and they did not meet the end of the year criteria on the screener, and they're still below criteria at the beginning of the year, they will need to be on a slip in 4th and 5th grade, unless they end up meeting that 40th percentile rank at some point during those years, then you could discontinue it. The other exception for that is if they're an IEP student, then in 4th and 5th grade, you do not have to put them on a slip. You can document their interventions on their IEP. You do not, what's in the chat is correct on, you do not have to add 4th and 5th graders. If they were on level when they completed 3rd grade, and then they slip below level in 4th grade, you do not have to add them to a slip. If you wish to use a slip to document some interventions for those students, you are free to do that, but it would not be required.
Can you tell again where we see the amount the amount we were funded so we know the correct amount?
Ooh. It is in your state aid management. I forgot the term for it because I don't have access to that portal.
Is it under grants management?
I don't know. I thought they told me state aid management. I'm not for sure on that. I answered that when we did this session. I can't remember what month that was. I could probably look back at some of my agendas because I did talk about that at one meeting. But since I don't deal with that very regularly, I forgot the exact term that they gave me of where to look for it. It was something with state aid. So students from
State aid management system. Thank you, Sherry.
there we go. Thank you.
So a couple of more questions. What about students who are currently 4th and 5th grade who we wrote a slip for at the beginning of this school year? Do they need to continue being filled since they were on RSA as 3rd graders?
So, yes, if it was a student who was probationally promoted, because they're going to follow whatever was the rule when they were finishing 3rd grade. So if you have a 3rd grader who was probationally promoted, you promoted them on good cause exemption or maybe on the screen, whatever you passed them on that was not the screener and not the state test. And they're a 4th and 5th grader and they're on a slip and they still are not meeting grade level targets, then yes, you would continue their slip for them. I think that's what we're kind of asking here.
Mm-hmm. So no, slips are not based on OSTP scores. They are strictly by universal screener for 4th and 5th grade, but no slip is required if they are on an IEP, correct?
That is all correct. Yes.
Okay. There was another question about the 6 shifts as far as the coding for it, the correct code. That's from Stephanie. She was just wanting to make sure she had the correct code.
So that would be professional development. So you would need to use program code 439 because that would be a professional development. So that's a little bit different program code than our regular strong readers, which is 427. We would need to use 439. And then that would be 22, 10, 22, 13. Yes, then the rest of that is all right. What she has on there is right, but she would just need to also say that they would need to use the program code 439.
Okay. And only slips through 5th grade and stops at 6th, right?
Yes, what our rule usually is that you're staying on it through 4th and 5th grade, and then at the point when you transition to 6th grade, you can transition to whatever your district policy is for interventions. And that's what rule we're gonna continue going forward with our students who were under strong readers and not RSA as well. It would be, you would continue the slips 4th and 5th, and then as they move out of that grade, you document that however your school chooses to, but they would not have to be on a slip.
Okay. And what if a 3rd grade slip student who has not met screener benchmark happens to score proficient on the OSTP ELA? Are you saying they would need a slip in 4th grade?
They would, because now our strong readers is not looking at the state testing at all. And so if that student has not met benchmark score on a screener, they would have to be on a slip in 4th grade until at which point they meet the grade level target for the screener. So it really is not going to be tied to the state testing at all now.
So for instance, you have a 3rd grader, you have a student that at the end of 3rd grade, they're 35th percentile. They take the state test and they score proficient. At the beginning of 4th grade, they score the 33rd percentile. They will go on a slip because they are below the 40th percentile on the universal screener.
Yes, ma'am, they will.
Okay. Trying to make sure there's not any other questions. Are all schools eventually going to be required to use the free state paid approved screener?
Yes, all schools can use the state approved screener. You just have to go on and enroll your school district on the website. Go to OSDE website and type Amira in the search bar, and you find our website and you can enroll your district there. Every
But
district.
they're not required to use it.
Oh,
at
are they
this
not
point.
required? No, you're not required. You can still choose from our approved vendors you can still choose any of the approved screeners, and you can use strong readers funds to pay for it. So it is not required.
When can we expect guidance on the balanced literacy portion of strong readers 25-26 school year?
That is currently being worked on. I know that that is one of the topics that we have scheduled to be addressed at our Pages Across the Plains professional development this summer. So that I don't necessarily have an exact date, except for I know it will be at those, but hopefully we might have it a little earlier than that. I can't really give you a date on that for sure yet, but it is in the works. Someone asked about where to input the coding, all these codes we're talking about. That's only for whoever's doing your expenditures in usually at your main office, the financial person. That's who this stuff would be for. It's whoever's putting in the coding on whoever's doing the expenditure report for your district. That's who would need the codes. Okay. So I think I'm looking through the chat. It looks like we've addressed most of my questions.
I'm sorry, did you address the lit cop question as far as
Yes.
it being accepted? Okay, that's when,
Yes.
again, I don't know
You
what's
got
wrong
kicked
with
off.
yes, I don't know what's going
Yes.
on.
Yes, and the answer is yes. Lit cop would
Thank you.
work for that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, I think that's all we have for today. You guys have a strong finish to your week and enjoy your spring break. See you next month. Bye.